Blog Talk Radio.
And today's guests are John Hewitt, who's the founder of Liberty Tax Service, and Dan Castellini, who's franchisee to Liberty Tax Service. And John is a savvy 38-year veteran in the tax industry, and he's known for his business and financial success in franchising and leadership. Good morning, John and Dan. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thanks for saying I'm savvy, and remind Dan Castellini that because he's not even 38 years old.
Okay, there you go.
Good morning.
Thanks, John. It's a privilege to talk to you, and same with you, Dan. It's just great to have you. John and Dan, joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson, who is also the president of Diamond Financial Services of New Jersey. And Don works with prospective franchisees when they're ready to finance their franchise. And I know you wanted to say hi, Don, to John and Dan.
Yeah, hi, John and Dan. We appreciate, Mark and I, you both coming on the show. We're both very impressed with Liberty Tax Service and what you, John, have accomplished in franchising and business. And we know that our listeners will learn a lot from the both of you today. So, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
And thank you for having us. And with Dan, you invited one of the best top 10. I brought in 3,000 franchisees in my career, and Dan's got to be top 10 or 20 at all time.
That's
wow.
Fantastic. That's what I've heard
job,
from
Dan.
Nina. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, John, I want to congratulate you on the tremendous success of Liberty Tax Service. Don and I were saying earlier, if there was ever a Hall of Fame for franchising, I mean, your picture would be right next to Ray Kroc or Fred Deluca. I believe you're one of the first people or only people to ever create two top 10 franchise opportunities. So that's a big wow.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. And we just passed a new milestone. Well, last year when we passed 2,000 offices.
Right.
I'm the first guy ever to found two different chains with over 2,000 locations.
That's incredible. Congratulations on that.
I've been blessed.
John. It's really it's an honor to speak with you. I thought, John, we'd start off with we'll start off with you. What were you doing before starting Liberty Tax Service?
Just before Liberty, I spent 15 years founding and developing Jackson Hewitt, and we sold Jackson Hewitt in 1997 for $483 million, and I had a non-compete that for 3 years, and looked around for something else to do, and said, you know what, there's still an opportunity in the tax business. Block has been stumbling, and Jackson Hewitt began to stumble, and we turned our attention to Canada, and when we started Liberty Tax Service, and so the first several years we were focusing on Canada. But I had founded and sold Jackson Hewitt, which today has not only bears my name, but has 6,500 locations.
Right.
Wow.
Something. Was there anything you
nice,
did?
John? Excuse me, Mark. That was nice, John. That I guess a pretty good deal on your end with only the 3-year non-compete with someone with your experience.
We argued, and they wanted 5, and I wanted 2, and we eventually settled on 3.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Now they've done pretty well. They sold it for $483 million, and today it's a public company, $1 billion company. So they haven't done too bad for themselves.
Everybody made out, yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Was there anything you did differently, John, when you went, from Hewitt to Liberty Tax Service? Again, you got a second chance to do it all over again.
Paul, I don't know if you've ever had a business or done anything for 15 years and then said, okay, you get to start all over again. It was actually more exciting and a lot easier the second time. I sort of liken it to being on my career since I started with Block has sort of been like I was on the first wagon train from Kansas City to California, and I was on the H&R Block wagon train, and I started in the shoveling manure and ended up manager by the time we got to California, and then I got to do it all over again with Jackson Hewitt, and I started from scratch and raised a few dollars and lean and mean we made it to California again and sold the company, and then I got to do it a whole third time. It was so much easier because I had so much experience. I had done it twice before. I have over 40 people that work with me at Jackson Hewitt that have come over to Liberty. I'm more famous. I have a lot more money. It's so much quicker and the second time or this time to found this organization. In fact, we just had our 10th year anniversary. In our 10th year, we had 2,400 locations. When Block was in their 10th year, they only had 500 locations, and Jackson Hewitt only had 600 locations in their 10th year. So all that experience and all the quality people that have come over have made it so much easier to build Liberty Tax this time.
And probably funner too, John.
It is. It's fun. I'm a consummate competitor. It's the number one thing that drives me. And now I get to compete. The more people I get to compete with, the better. The more people I get to beat up on, the better.
That was going to be one of my questions. Really, what motivates you? I mean, you've accomplished so much financially and in business.
Yeah, Don. When I was a kid, when I was a little younger than Dan Castellini, I thought I'd make a few $1 million and just relax and retire. And in the journey, I found that you know what? There's nothing as much fun as I get to do. I'm a Life Master bridge player. I'm a tournament chess player, tournament tennis player, but I only do those things a few days a year. This is my passion. It's not a job for me. It's other people. It's like, thank God it's Friday. To me, it's thank God it's Monday. I'm
right.
365 days thinking and building Liberty Tax. I've involved my whole family. I mean, my parents are in their late 70s, and they're big stockholders. My dad's been with me every step of the way.
Right.
My children, my brothers and sisters. It's a passion. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, and you said an interesting word, John. You said fun, and I always recall the tagline when I was, researching Liberty, is that you guys make taxes fun, because when you hear the word taxes, you don't particularly think of the word fun, but you somehow, give it that perception, Even when Don and I saw your booth at the franchise show in Washington, it was just a great atmosphere, In fact, Don's kids got was it the statue, Don? The little, Statue of Liberty with the hat or something like that?
Yeah, I think they got
took it back home,
hat. Yeah, that goes on.
Yeah, Paul, our mission statement is set the standard, improve each day, and have some fun. And, life is just so short and so fragile. I just feel bad for people that go to work every day and they hate it. And my philosophy is that if you're in your car and you're going to work and you're not looking forward to it, you're going to the wrong place. And we change people's lives. And as I said, I brought in over 3,000 franchisees and hundreds of employees and stockholders. We've changed thousands of people's lives, and it's all about having fun. Life is, you're not put here to just enslave yourself.
Right, it's not all about yourself. It's good seeing other people having success from what you've built. Marty and I have gone over that with, other franchise experts, franchisors we've had on the show, and everybody seems to really get an emotional high, right, John, from helping others as well.
Absolutely.
Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your background before joining Liberty Tax Service?
Well, I was involved in the corporate world as a regional director for the Scotts Miracle-Gro Company at the time, and was listening to the program a little earlier too, and I was watching the industry, watching the corporate world change, pensions go away,
right,
things of that nature, and that's kind of what spurred me to look for something to sort of shore up my future.
Right, something a little more control of your own destiny.
Absolutely.
Why did you choose Liberty Tax Service? What was it that impressed you about them?
Well,
besides John.
Yeah. Well, definitely whenever you're looking at a franchise or something to get involved with, you certainly want to look at the leadership. But
right,
you guys talked a little bit about the culture. There was a lot of things that led me to Liberty when I went and started researching franchises. The first thing was I wasn't really looking to get out of the corporate world just yet. I was just looking for some additional security, something to shore up the future, to make sure I had something when retirement came around. And so I was really looking for something that I could parallel with my corporate career. And I really liked the Liberty model because with only 14 weeks a year, the tax season being so short, I felt that it would be easy to do the two of them together. And then, of course, after looking into the company further and going and visiting with John and all the people back in Virginia Beach, I was extremely impressed with the culture of the company and, just what John just talked about, the way that they believe and the passions that they have and making life fun and really just changing people's lives. So, it was really those two things that drove me to get involved with Liberty.
So our story that we talked about in our first segment, I guess you can kind of relate to that a little bit.
Right.
Being in the corporate world, and I guess you felt a little nervous about the future of that and just wanted something a little more, something that, like I said before, that you can control. And I guess just the need of the service, I guess, must have been a big reason why you chose Liberty as well, just the potential of the industry.
Well, yeah, there's two things. I remember my family and I had just been relocated to Atlanta, and the company had acquired several smaller companies, and we were going through a major reorganization. And I vividly remember sitting at my desk in my office. I worked from home, and the day that the calls came down from the reorganization, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 75 people lost their jobs, and these were guys that had been with the company for years.
Right.
They built the company, and I just remember sitting there and telling my wife that I certainly don't want to put myself in the position to be that vulnerable when I'm at that stage of my career. And of course, with Liberty, one of the things that's also attractive and part of the reasons that I feel so secure about the industry is simply we've all heard the phrase death and taxes, and it just seemed like a very sure thing to me. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of my own philosophy. I've been self-employed since 27, had 3 companies, been in this business at least 10 years. And, I just, even at that young age, just didn't want to be older and in a situation where I put in a lot of years with a company, and just like that, you get laid off, want to control my own destiny. So, I mean, it's, it's important, and, we all have families, and you just, want to have that comfort level.
Absolutely.
You said something interesting, Dan, too. You mentioned, what attracted you as well was the seasonality, of the business. And, we had Mark Johnson, who was an area developer for Liberty Tax. I'm not sure if you know him, back in December of 2006. And he mentioned the advantages of owning a seasonal business. And, and he said that franchisees can, play golf, as you mentioned, spend time with your family, or whatever it is that you love to do, during the off-season. Even from a financial aspect, it's more attractive because your overhead is significantly lower. You have lower payroll, no sick pay, holiday pay, and rent. And, did you want to talk a little bit about that? It could be for John or Dan, actually.
Yeah, the quality of life is, now that I've separated myself from the corporate world and I'm just focusing on growing the organization with Liberty, the quality of life is phenomenal. In fact, it's funny. I find myself waking up in the morning and going, what in the world am I going to do today? Which is a very odd thing, especially when you're used to working every single day. So the seasonality is absolutely excellent. I mean, I love the time I get to spend with the family. I've got a new 16-month-old, and I get to see him a lot more than I get to see my first son, simply because I was gone all the time.
Wow.
But that, and I mean, the financial rewards of it. I mean, I don't. For the investment, I certainly don't see the difference in working 12 months or 14 weeks. I think given the choice, anybody would choose the 14 weeks.
That's interesting.
Right.
And Dan, you were obviously talking about the off season when you were talking about you wonder what you're going to do during the tax season. That's not a question, is it?
That's correct.
That's true. That's something. John, how would you describe the Liberty Tax franchise system to someone?
I would say that there's 5,000 franchise systems out there, and so you have to, if you're going to look for a system of doing business, I think that's really the key that separates great companies from ordinary companies. Because, for example, everyone or almost every adult could go and make a better quality hamburger than you get at McDonald's. However, no one in the history of hamburgers has ever made as much money from making McDonald's. And so I think that when you acquire or become a member of a great franchise system, there's a lot of elements to it. There's the brand, there's the advertising, there's the marketing, there's the way you handle customers when they come in the door, there's all of the operating procedures. But at the end of the day, all of that is embedded in one thing, and that's a system of doing business which provides a consistency. And so the key thing I think about McDonald's that separates from everyone else isn't the greatest hamburger in the world, isn't the greatest drinks in the world. It's the greatest system in the world that provides a consistency and an expectation, and as a result separates itself from everyone else. And that's what happens with Liberty. We think as a franchisor, our responsibility is to provide a system of doing business that's equal or better than anyone's. And I think we've proven that. Not only are we the fastest growing, but last year we grew by more tax returns, raw number of tax returns. Liberty grew in our 2,000 U.S. locations. We grew by 173,000 tax returns. Block and Jackson Hewitt in their 19,000 locations grew by a combined 105,000 tax returns. So we're the fastest growing. We have the system of doing business. A franchisee, then, their requirement, the thing that we're looking for, and this is a strategic partnership when you when you join a franchise organization. The thing that we're looking for the franchisee is, can you follow a system, and can you provide better customer service than the company employees down the street? And the advantage you get in that we have, the strategic advantage, the number one thing that separates us, that makes us the fastest growth, is we have people like Dan Castellini who compete with company employees of the other companies, and the owner franchisee mentality is always going to surpass on average the company mentality.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, the guerrilla marketing tactics are very, very creative, John, with Liberty Tax, with the Statue of Liberties and just, all that other stuff.
Marty, last year we were featured during the tax season on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. We had a whole 1/6 of the front page, and I was so tickled because in my 38-year career, I've never seen the other major companies be featured on the Wall Street Journal, but it was nothing about tax preparation. It was all about our guerrilla marketing, and in the article, or during the interviews that led up to the article, the author asked me, he said, are there other companies that do this consistently? And I said, sure. Think of Ronald McDonald and the Burger King and Disney and Chick-fil-A and even the pizza companies are starting to put some people out. He said, but no, is there someone that does it? Are there other companies that do it day after day, week after week, during an entire season, like from January to April? And I thought about it. I said, no, there's really not. And when we have 3,000 or 4,000 Lady Liberties out on the street in January, February, March, and April, the whole country is beginning to get a presence of Liberty Tax, and it really sets us apart, not just in this industry, but in many, many industries.
I agree.
How big word of mouth is that's what spreads word of mouth.
Oh,
people saying, "Hey, do you see that person out on the street?" And, the more marketing, the more advertising.
It's amazing to see. We'll see a snippet in 2 years ago. Twice during the season, there was pictures of our Lady Liberties standing out there, and especially when it's snowing or something, and there's big snowbanks, or they see those Lady Liberties out there, they snap them, and they send a picture in, and we don't even know about it. And next thing we see our picture, a Lady Liberty featured in the USA Today or somewhere in the country, where we didn't even do anything except do our jobs and put our Lady Liberties out.
That's great.
Now, the Lady Liberty, was that your idea, John, or was that yours, Dan?
Dan can't, I asked Dan, and remember, I already said he's one of the best 10 or 20 ever in out of 3,000. So I built him up, and this is not a slam to Dan at all. But I often ask my top people just to make other people understand. I said, Dan, what did you create? What did you invent when you've been here? You've been here 4 seasons. What did you do different? And he said, really, the top people say, you know what, I followed the plan, and I think Dan can confirm that. Is that accurate?
That's franchisee, John. That's what Marty and I speak about a lot. A lot of our experts we've had on, trying to recruit people, don't want to reinvent the wheel, just follow the system and work hard and have that passion. In most franchises, you got to be people, a people person, and you're going to be successful. Is the bottom line.
Absolutely. Dan's comment.
What's that?
How do you feel about that?
No, absolutely. I think that it went back when I was looking, deciding if franchising was right for me. That's the first thing I determined was, you know what? I don't want to invent anything. I'm not creative. Just give me a plan that I can execute. Of course, then you go in search of that plan, and that's exactly what Liberty has. And to succeed, you guys hit the nail on the head. It's simply, have that personal drive, and then the ability to listen and execute the plan that you signed up to follow.
Right. Getting solid training, getting the ongoing support, all things that attracted you, I guess, as well, Dan.
Absolutely. Well, Liberty's got a great training program from the beginning. I've never owned a business before, so it was all new to me. So from the beginning of everything, and the simplest things of how to start a business, how to get a business license, etc., all the way on up to now in the multiple operation side of things, owning multiple offices. How do you do that? How do you continue to grow, as well as training for your employees and managers and things of that nature? I worked for two very large companies before Liberty, and I always tell people the training program here. I worked for Coca-Cola and the Scotts Miracle-Gro Company, both very large companies, but the training that Liberty offers is unparalleled. I mean, it's and I think a lot of it is driven by the passion of the people that are inside the company. and their ability to want to teach people and get people to be better.
Right. Dan, another question for you. Just talk a little bit about a typical day at Liberty Tax Service. It might not be a typical day, and I know it's seasonal, but maybe tell us what you do on a daily basis.
Well, I guess for clarity, like John said, during the tax season, well, during the off season, we talked about that a little bit. It could be anything, but during the tax season, one of the things that I really love about the model at Liberty from the beginning, they really stress and teach you to be the CEO of your business, not so much to buy a job, not so much to just own a business so that you can work in it, but really to understand from the planning aspect all the way through the delegation and the monitoring of the results, how to do that. So a typical day for me is basically set up like that. It's basically a lot of, in the beginning, pre-tax season, a fair amount of planning and strategic planning and things of that nature, budgeting and all that fun stuff. And then when the tax season comes, it's really a matter of delegating and then monitoring what's going on. And Liberty has a phenomenal plan that sort of lays it out for you every day, what you should be doing, and it really makes it easy and simple to follow and succeed. So
I guess you get a lot of the same people coming back during tax season. Your staff. I guess you have a solid staff.
Absolutely. Part of the one of the things about this business is the retention of employees, being that it's seasonal, and that's one of the keys to the success. And obviously with John being in the industry so long, he's very, very aware of all that stuff and teaches us how to make sure that happens. But certainly a big part of the business.
John and Dan, are you guys able to stick around for another segment?
That'd be great.
That's fantastic.